Welcome back to the show, Action Takers. Today we're joined by Taylor McMaster. Super fun episode. Taylor is awesome, lots of energy, and Taylor is the founder of Dot and Company. She worked as basically a marketing agency for many years, doing lots of client work, lots of analytics, looking at all the numbers, conversion ratios, all that really fun stuff that we just wake up in the morning geared up. But for Taylor, it wasn't the right fit for her and her personality. So what she did was develop and create a company that's focused less on all the conversions and percentages and KPIs and whatnot, focusing more on how can I help agency owners have just solid, fantastic interactions with their clients. And let me tell you something, it is working. Dot and Company is growing. Great chat today. And there's a few things we talk about in this episode, which I think are really interesting. How you can actually leverage a podcast to grow your business and what are the things that you want to be looking for. Also, creating a business that, really solves a problem, but it's also true to you. I remember going back, the first things that people were paying me for, it was not the way that I wanted to live my life. And as after hours entrepreneurs, our passion is following our passion. It's not just taking the first dollar that someone's willing to give to us. So finding that overlap between something that you love and you're passionate about, and also something that people are willing to pay you for, man, that's where it all comes together. So sit back, relax. You're really going to enjoy this episode. There's a lot of practical applications. And by the way, if you've been holding back on starting your podcast, please do not. We are in a very unique point in time where it's actually possible. It can build your business, your network. It can bring clients in. Podcasting is so powerful. I have a podcast launch kit. I'll put a link below. And if you're ready to launch your podcast and get it going on the right track, click the link below. I'd love to hop on a call and see how I can help you out. All right. With all that said, let's get into this amazing episode with Taylor McMaster. Let's go. Hello, Taylor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me as well. You looks like you've got a great business running, and let's get right into it. I want to kind of go back in time a little bit. It's where I like to start. This is the After Hours Entrepreneur. We're always talking about how people are able to turn their passion into their main hustle, their main expertise. So I'm going to go back in time again. What did you do before founding Dot and Company? What were you doing before this business was running?
Yeah, so I was starting my own marketing agency. I left the corporate world. I always wanted to be my own entrepreneur since I was a little girl. So I started my own agency and, had some clients, and I was doing all of the things and kind of floundering around trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. And it wasn't until I basically just threw my hands up in the air and was like, I don't want to run an agency anymore, and figured out that was actually the path that I needed to go down, was to do account management, talk to clients, project management. I've always been that person who's just like really organized and loves to check boxes off and build processes and systems. And so I kind of just compiled all the things that I love doing and decided that I wanted to do that as a contractor. And, kind of had to decide, right? Like, is it just going to be me, or am I going to grow a team? And I've gone the team route, and now we are a team. But, 3+ years ago, it was just me doing what I loved. So it was kind of agency life turned into not running an agency to now running an agency, full circle moment. But yeah, that's kind of how I started.
It actually gives me hives thinking back to my first days in the business industry, because it's like you try thing after mistake, after failure, after you could try so many different ideas trying to find that right niche. What was that moment like for you, Taylor, when you were like, I've got it, I'm in the right lane? What was that moment like?
Yeah, so I was actually at a Mastermind event for agency owners in Fiji, of all places. And I was at this event with a bunch of marketing agency owners, and it was an agency accelerator. So it was like how to build your agency. And I was like, I don't belong here. I don't know why I'm here. But I just kind of was like, I just started talking to people there. And I said, listen, this is kind of what I want to do. And they all started to say like, wow, you're crazy, but like, I'll hire you. And I heard it time and time again. And I kind of just started to feel like this moment of being in flow of like, okay, this is exactly what I need to do. I just need to figure this out. And this is like the universe is pushing me in this direction. So it was like this feeling of just being in a state of flow that I'd never felt before, and knowing that I can confidently do this and like no one else in the world can do it, so I can do it. And it was just this really good gut feeling that I had, and just kind of ran with it and said, it's going to take time, it's going to take a lot of effort, but I'm willing to put in the work and figure this thing out. And yeah, it was just kind of this gut feeling, I guess.
Super cool. And Taylor, it's interesting. That seems to be a common denominator amongst a lot of the guests that come on the show, is they join a mastermind and it brings this like clarity as to what steps to take next. So you mentioned that several of the people said that they would hire you. Did they actually hire you, or was it just this kind of things where like, yeah, I'd hire you, and then 6 months later, they don't know where you are?
Yeah, no, they did. Yeah. So I left
Nice.
this event with like a few clients, well, prospects, I guess you could call them. And I just kind of went home and I called them up and said, all right, I'm doing it. I'm an account manager. I'm here for service. And they hired me. And I guess it was just this need that everybody had of, I need really good account managers. And I went home and said, look, like I can do it. Let's just jump in. You don't really have to pay me all that much. And really just started from the ground running and figured it out as I went. And thankfully they trusted me, but just shows that if you have something that people need, they will definitely jump onto what you have. So
yeah, for sure. So I want to get a little bit more clear on what your business is, Taylor, because you mentioned that you wanted to get, you were working the digital marketing business, right? And you had clients you were doing digital marketing for. I assume that's stuff like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, product placement,
yes.
things like that.
Yeah.
Which is, that's tough, a lot of client work. And so you decide, I'm going to leave the client work facing side, but you're just jumping into another client work facing side. What was the difference in the two that made sense for you?
Yeah. So what stumped me as an agency owner was being the analytical person, being responsible for all the results on the back end. I'm naturally not that analytical, so I didn't really love kind of being able to like go in the back end of Facebook ads and figure out, how can I improve, and continuously doing that part while also managing the client relationship. And at the time, I really wanted to serve other agencies, and I was like, I just want to be a part of a team. I don't want to do this, this whole thing by myself. And so I really wanted to step into that project management, client-facing role, working with media buyers who are really good at Facebook ads or really good at Google ads, and kind of be there to support them and manage clients. So what we do now is we are client-facing account managers. So we're not the ones actually running the ads, but we're the ones managing all the client relationships, all the project management, onboarding new clients, talking to clients, and really being the glue inside of the agency who knows what's going on with all of the clients and is actually holding those relationships, while we let the media buyers or the creative team do what they do best on the back end of the agency.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So I think about this a lot, Taylor, and life leaves clues. Life leaves clues is what I like to think of, because when I think back on my life, there were certain events that occurred in my life that should have really been super clear to me. Mark, you don't belong in a place pushing numbers or just staring at analytics all day. I hate it. But for some reason, I fell into that for about a decade, right? So I'm just curious, how long were you in this kind of business mentality, or you're doing the digital marketing? How long were you in that for? And do you think that there were maybe clues along the way that maybe you missed so that you didn't get right into your lane right away? I'm just kind of curious as to how you got to where you're at now.
Mm-hmm. So it was a couple of years that I was running my agency, and I was really not clear on who we were serving. And I didn't have that very clear direction of exactly what we were doing and what kind of clients we wanted and what services we were providing. I was just kind of doing whatever. And that feeling wasn't very good, because I just didn't have any clarity every day when I woke up of like what I was doing or who I was serving or how I could go get more clients. And I think the biggest thing for me, Mark, was really not feeling that sense of flow and not really feeling like I knew what I was doing. And it wasn't until I basically like gave it all up that life was like, nope, this is exactly where you needed to be. And I think those first couple of years was just like learning everything that I possibly could. What worked inside of agencies, what didn't, how do you manage clients? How do you onboard clients? What are the systems and processes and everything that goes into an agency? I really had to just figure out and kind of put myself through the ringer to then be confident to work with clients. Because by the time I basically closed up shop of my marketing agency and started just being an account manager for other agencies, I was so confident in what I was doing. Whereas a couple of years before that, I would not have been able to do that role confidently. So I think just all the learnings that I had to go through over those first couple of years were just essential to get me to that confidence piece.
Really, really smart, Taylor. And again, I kind of think about this a lot because life leaves clues. We want to pick up on those clues so we get into our lane as quickly as possible. But sometimes you have to kind of go through the muck a little bit to find that right lane. You know, maybe you weren't ready before. You know, maybe the clues were there, the ideas were there, but you weren't ready. And I definitely believe that you need to kind of roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty if you're going to be diving in. I've edited thousands and thousands of podcast episodes, hundreds of thousands of hours. Just it took a long time to get where I'm at today, tens of thousands of dollars, but it feels good when you finally find that flow, when you finally find the right place to be. It's really, it's just an amazing thing. So I want to talk a little bit. I want to shift topics just a little bit, Taylor. I just want to get a little bit of Taylor background, get a little bit of idea of how we got to where we're at here as an after hours entrepreneur. I think that's so. Now you've got this client management business, client management company. How are you diversifying your income streams? Is it simply just you pay me, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 a month? We'll manage all your client work. How are you diversifying your income streams?
Yeah. So when we started, it was strictly done for you account management services. So hire me, hire one of my team members to actually come in and white label as an account manager. So that's kind of our key core service. Now we have one-on-one training because we have a lot of other agencies that come to us who already have account managers and they just need support with the coaching and training. So we do one-on-one coaching or group coaching, but we also have CAM School, which is our course that we developed to train our own team. And we actually sell that as a product on our shop. So for agencies or for client account managers or basically anyone in an agency who wants to be really good at account management and managing clients, we've developed that course. So we have a few different offerings that are all kind of in that account management bucket, but services, products, and that's kind of what we've been working on over the last couple of years.
Brilliant. And I think it's really important here as entrepreneurs that we focus on solving problems. And sometimes we try to solve problems that aren't really there, and we can waste a lot of time trying to solve those problems. So as you started to develop out your CAM School in your training, what was that moment where you realized there's a real problem that needs to be solved here? This is how I can solve it. Was that day one, or did that come along the way?
To be honest, the way that we looked at it was quite different. So we were looking for a way to train our own team. So we were like, okay, how can we take all of our brains and put them into a training tool that we can just consistently train our entire team to be just like us? And so we started it with that in mind of, okay, how can we build a training program for our team? And we knew kind of in the back of our head, okay, if we're building this for our own team, could other agencies and other account managers use it? Yes. So there's some components of it that are just for our team, but we kind of naturally went at it in a way that we were like, this is just literally a brain dump of how we can train our own team. And then now it kind of works for other people as well, which is quite, I think not a lot of people kind of go at it that way, but it's been really successful for us and training our team. And then of course, other account managers.
Well, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah. If we look at our own lives and the problems that we have going on in our own lives, and we can find ways to solve them that other people might be interested in utilizing, that seems like a win. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Did you have to make a lot of changes to it and evolve it before you actually put it on the market to sell? Or was it this is good, first run, let's rock it? How has it evolved since that?
Yeah, good question. So actually in March 2020 of all times, we started what we called the CAM Academy. And this was kind of the first version of CAM School. And it was strictly just to train our own team members how to bring on a new account manager and train them up. And that was kind of the first version. And then by January 2021 is when we said, we need to redo this whole thing before we can sell this or give it to the masses or anything like that. So it definitely had 2 iterations. The second version is much better. So Emma, our training manager on our team, actually developed the whole thing. Of course, we gave input and things like that, but she kind of took the reins and really did a phenomenal job developing Cam School. But now we've put a lot of people through Cam School now, both our own team and other account managers, and we've seen kind of where there were holes, and we continuously added to it. But once we kind of did that second version, we were like, this is good enough. We need to get this out to people. So yeah, it kind of took about a year, but we're finally there.
So, I mean, it's fascinating that the conversation is actually going this way. Go figure. Because this is something that I think is something that I think a lot about. We've been covering monetization in the Mastermind program. So what did you, let me just go to the beginning here. How are you delivering the course to people? What platform are you using? What do you find to be the best method? Is it video? Is it audio? Is it just worksheets? How are you, setting it up?
Yeah, so we use a program called Thinkific. It's based in Canada, so that was kind of why we went with that one. It's really great. We have a mix between video, text, and then we throw in some additional materials like podcasts and worksheets and things like that. But what we realize is that people really need all different ways to learn. So whether it's video or written, and then we have lots of assessments in throughout it so that people can test their knowledge and really make sure that everything is sticking. But when we were developing Cam School, of course, it was for our team, but we also do intensive training with other account managers across different agencies. So we use Cam School as kind of the backbone of a lot of different things that we're doing inside of Dot. So, whether it's training our team, training someone else, or someone's going through it on their own, we wanted it to be kind of this flagship training program that basically anyone could go through, whether they're a beginner or a senior marketer. Nice.
And you also mentioned, one of the core competencies of your business, Dot and Company. Does Cam School almost act as like a funnel for your more intensive training, or vice versa, or they go side by side? I'm just kind of curious how you got that organized.
Yeah, it's kind of side by side. So inside of our intensive training, we use Cam School, but we kind of customize it for the agency. So basically it's wherever someone's at in their journey, whether they're just starting and they're self-motivated enough to go through training on their own, Cam School is a great option. If they're an account manager in an agency and they really want to take it to the next level and build processes and build things that are going to take the agency to the next step, then that intensive program is definitely the best option. And then for our own team, they go through Cam School on their own before they ever get hired here at Dot. So it's kind of a hiring tool as well for us. So we use it in very different ways, which is quite cool.
I like that a lot, because bringing on new people, new team members, either whether 1099s or W2s, it's a lot of freaking work, and you never know what they're going to mess up or what they get, what they don't get. I guess that probably helps completion rates. What about completion rates? What have you found about that as you developed your training product?
Yeah, so we see pretty good completion rates, especially people who want to work here. They have to go 100%, they have to pass. But then when people are going through it on their own, especially in the one-on-one training, is where we see the biggest completion rate, which is interesting, right? Because if you go to the gym, right, and you have a gym membership, or you have a gym membership plus a trainer, you're more likely to use that gym membership if you have a trainer. And we kind of look at our programs the exact same, right? Like, you can have Cam School and you might go through it on your own. But if you have a coach and a trainer going through it with you and holding your hand and giving you homework and KPIs, then you're that much more likely to stay accountable. So we see, of course, probably no shocker, but the biggest completion rates when it comes to training and our hiring funnel.
Interesting. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I love that analogy of going to the gym is much easier, much more likely to happen if you've got a trainer that's kind of pushing you along. That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to me. So let's talk about how you actually get people into your course a little bit, right? So you've got your podcast, the Happy Clients podcast. How else are you getting people interested and excited in your course? I know there's this adage, if I build it, they will come, but I've found that that's not always the case. How do you get the awareness out there?
Yeah, it's definitely not the case, Mark. You're definitely right there. So we do very 360 marketing. So, we have our podcast, we're running advertising for different freebies that we have, and then we have email sequences on the back end. And really our goal in terms of all of our marketing is we're always marketing to agencies, whether you're an account manager, whether you're an agency owner, whether you are, the COO, it doesn't really matter. A lot of agencies have very similar pain points that we can help with, whether it's hiring an account manager from our team, whether it's getting additional resources that we use as account managers, whether that's training and coaching and mentorship, all these different ways we can help. It just depends on where they're at in their journey. So sometimes we'll have people come in who, they just want some SOPs and some templates that we use. Okay, great. We have an onboarding package that you can download and use today. And if you want a little bit more training, then Cam School is a great option. If you need even more, then that one-on-one intensive coaching program is going to be the best option. So we kind of attract people using like all the very similar pain points and then kind of allow them to choose their own journey of where they're at in their agency.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. For advertising, you primarily doing Facebook ads, or where do you run your ads right now?
Yeah, Facebook right now. We've trialed some different things, but Facebook is kind of the best that we see right now, but definitely open to getting other avenues going for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, we always got to be looking at where the underpriced attention is. Facebook just seems to be the main go-to, and people are there, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. Surprise. I want to talk a little bit more about your business itself and the problem it solves with client management, account management. I run a podcast agency. I've got lots of different clients and lots of different accounts that we're working on. It's actually starting to get to the point where I'm like, this is getting to be pretty crazy. So let me ask you this. When you're looking for a great account manager, what are some features? What are some like key identifiers that you're looking for other than passing the CAM school? But what are some key identifiers that you're looking for in a great account manager?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And it's hard. We've spent years kind of mastering this of like exactly what we're looking for. But there's some key things that we do look for. So of course, it's experience. When we're hiring account managers into our agency, we just simply don't have the time to take somebody from very new to marketing to an expert marketer. So that experience level is really important. So not only marketing, but digital marketing. Can you speak to results to clients? Can you jump on the phone and problem solve with a client? So that's kind of one thing, is the experience. Secondly is personality. So that's something that we can't necessarily teach. So somebody, you could be a good account manager and not have that personality that we're looking for, but our dot vibes is what we call it, is a very unique personality. You need to be able to be confident, jump on the phone and be bubbly and have that personality and that zest, which is super important for Dot & Company specifically. And then, of course, written communication skills need to be bang on. Like we are looking at, written things like a hawk. So that's very, very important. And then being able to follow through on instructions, timelines, things like that. So all these things are what we're testing for throughout CAM School, throughout our interview process. But if somebody doesn't check all those boxes, we simply just can't move forward with that candidate because we have a very high standard, and I think every agency should. So kind of all those things together, making that perfect account manager. It's hard to find, but when you find them, they're amazing. So that's kind of the things that we look for.
Yeah. So we talked about the things that we look for in an account manager. What are some red flags that as soon as you see it, you're like, got to move in the other direction? I'll give you a perfect example. I learned early on when hiring team members, if you're not able to get on a Zoom call, it's not going to work. I know that's not like the super high bar, but there's a lot of people that don't want to get on Zoom calls, and I've never had success with any of them. So what's a red flag of yours, Taylor, when bringing on a new account manager?
Yeah, attention to detail. So not being able to follow instructions is so important. So as an account manager, you need to be super detail oriented. You need to be looking for clues, checking things off, timelines. You basically need to know where everything's at all the time. And so if you can't follow simple instructions, then that's definitely a red flag. And then like if you get on a Zoom call and you're not, that personality, like on an interview, then you're not going to be like that when you have a grouchy client or when things aren't going as planned. So definitely like bringing that zest and that like high level to the interview is key for us.
Yeah, I like the attention to detail. I actually started doing this on my job applications. I put like little Easter eggs or passwords in there. And if the person doesn't actually, find the Easter egg and notate it, I don't even go to the next step, because we've got to find ways to filter out, because when you're getting hundreds of applicants for a job position, like you got to be able to filter these people out. So anyway, that's something that I've started to do, which has been cool. Yeah.
And you have to be looking for things, right? Like you can't just go through one interview and say, oh yeah, I think they're a good fit. Like there needs to be so many different touch points and things that you're looking for and multiple people involved. We have 4 people who are reviewing everything before somebody even, gets hired. So including CAM school, 2 interviews, assessments, applications, and things like that. So just like building out that funnel and trusting your gut when it comes to hiring is always the most important.
Yeah. So I agree with that. What about letting someone go? When you bring on a new account manager, it's not always, well, for any position really, whenever you bring on a new employee, 1099 or W-2, it's not always obvious if they're going to be a great fit from day one. Sometimes it is, but sometimes I feel like we need to give our new team member a little bit of grace so that they can learn the systems, they kind of learn the communication channels a little better. How much time do you look at? Do you find that it's something immediately that it's not gonna be a fit, or you say, you know what, let me give them a couple weeks to try to figure things out and then I'll go from there? What are your thoughts on that side of the?
Yeah, it kind of depends, I guess, on what the problems or the issues are. So like if somebody is, say, overwhelmed with the learning curve, well, that's okay. It's going to take you 6 weeks, 8 weeks until you feel comfortable. So that's kind of that grace period. If they're making a lot of mistakes at the beginning, then that's kind of a different story that we need to really say, like, is this something we can coach you on, or is this something that, we need to shut down right away? So I'd say it's more of a case by case basis in terms of how much grace period we would give somebody.
That's fair. So I'm just curious on your side, Taylor, what type of, I'm trying to find the right word, what kind of supervisor are you? Do you feel like it's great to get in there and micromanage and nitpick every single item? Or do you feel it's good to just say, here's an open field, go, be free? Like, where do you fall on that spectrum?
Good question. So I am more on the just like, let's see you go and ask questions as you go. But I personally don't oversee any of our account managers. So that is something I have delegated, thankfully, because I've said since day one, I'm not a very good people manager. So I've kind of outsourced that from the beginning. But I'm more of a just like, jump off, call me if you have any questions, because or else I'll be a micromanager. Right. So that would be more so my style.
Yeah, I'm the same way, although I do strike this balance, and I don't know if it's a personal flaw of mine. I always try to find things that can get better in everything that's done, right? Whether it's an interview or a job for a client or for a team. I'm always looking for like, what's one thing that could be done better? And I don't know if that annoys people.
I think that's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing too.
I call it optimizing, right? It's not necessarily like you always want to change something. It's like, how can we optimize this? How can we, always get better? And I think that's just like the game of business. You can't just do one thing and keep going. Like you have to optimize, you have to get better, or else you'll never grow. Yeah.
I am concerned about getting too comfortable in everything, because the second you get too comfortable, that's the second the next person comes up and eats your lunch. And so innovation is super important, especially in this digital marketplace where you can reach so many different people in so many different ways. There's always a new app, a new platform. I mean, Instagram Reels every week they change the features in Reels, what's the new music, the hot new trend. Yeah, I could go on and on and on. So,
for sure.
But I am glad, Taylor, I'm glad that you have reiterated the fact that optimizing is not a bad thing. So all my team members that watch this and get annoyed when I'm like, hey, can you tweak this color or this line? It's for a good purpose.
It is.
Cool. Well, let's shift our focus over to YouTube for a moment. I want to talk about what you're doing on YouTube.
Yeah. So I think that's one of these things where I'm always like, need to get better, need to do more. Really what we're doing on YouTube is we have a podcast, a weekly podcast. So we put that on YouTube. Always, of course, optimizing with copy and links and things like that. I've done a few like specific YouTube videos around tools that we use, but to be perfectly honest, like that, it's not attracting the right audience because I find that people are kind of going on YouTube for a specific purpose. They're looking at how to use Asana for my marketing agency. And sure, we use Asana, but I'm not here to build someone's Asana task list for them.
Yeah.
We're very different. So I find that I'm trying to crack YouTube in a way where I'm going to attract the right audience, which I think takes time. But right now we're simply posting a lot of our podcast interviews just like this one.
So like with any show, I think when we first start our show, we have hypotheses. We have hypotheses of who my audience is, what they want to listen to, what they're going to react to. And, when we talk about optimization, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? with every video that we post, with every episode that we post, with every email that we send out, we get a better idea of what is going to help people to respond, what's going to initiate that engagement. So again, that's why all these great YouTubers say, you don't know anything until you've posted 100 videos, right? Don't, the great YouTubers are like, don't come to me after posting 25 videos. You need to post 100. And then we'll have a sample size. So, but I'm with you. I think YouTube is definitely underrated for business purposes. And I'm certainly going to be paying attention there. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do.
Yeah, likewise.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, Taylor, thank you for joining the show here. Before I let you go, I'm going to go through a quick rapid fire section. It's backed by popular demand. People keep asking me for it. And I just want to encourage everyone. You can find Taylor at dotandcompany.co, dotandcompany.co. Guess what? Spoiler, there's a link below, dotandcompany.co. Go there right now. What are you waiting for? Dotandcompany.co. Okay, Taylor, maple syrup, overrated or underrated?
Underrated. I'm Canadian.
I thought maybe so. What's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Oh, probably like Jaws. I don't watch very many scary movies.
Jaws, and you know, Facebook keeps showing me giant shark videos also, just as a spoiler. It's your final meal. You're on death row. What are you ordering for your last meal?
Ooh, pizza for sure.
Nice, nice.
We have a local spot here that's really good. It's called Mother's, and it's very delicious.
Brilliant. When you're retiring, you can live anywhere on earth. Where are you going to live?
Oh, somewhere warm, somewhere in the Caribbean, maybe Grand Cayman Islands. I'm going there next week.
All right. Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing. You're going to go on a plane ride. Let's say you're taking that first class trip to the Grand Caymans. If you could sit next to anybody in history, who are you going to sit next to?
Sarah Blakely from Spanx.
Ah, Sarah. Now she's
from history. Or does that count?
I'll give you two. Okay. You've got Sarah Blakely to your left, who's on Shark Tank, right? I think.
Yeah.
And then someone else on your right. Who's going to be on?
My grandmother.
Wow.
Dorothy, who my business is named after.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why Dorothy? Why, you could talk to anyone. Why Dorothy?
Yeah. She was so we lived together my whole life. She lived in our basement with my parents. And I just feel like since she's passed, I have so many questions or things I want to dig into. So I just feel like I have so many questions left to ask her.
That's awesome. That's how you know you've got a great grandmother and great family structure. I think about that a lot. I host a show called The Awesome Dad Show. It's all about parenting and fatherhood. And that is the primary goal of that group of men, is how do we develop a lifelong relationship with our kids? Because it's very important. I think it's very important. So
I love that.
Yeah. Props to you. Props to Dot and Taylor McMaster. Thanks for joining the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark. This was great.
Thanks for listening to the show today. Make sure to smash the subscribe button. Just take your thumb and boom, smash the subscribe button. For all my iTunes viewers and listeners out there, for everybody on Spotify, hook it up with a 5-star review. If you enjoy the show, I'm not asking for your money. Just hit that 5-star review. It makes a big difference in letting us expand the show, better guests, more people, and more resources for you. So what are you doing? Come on, hit the 5-star review. A lot of good work goes into producing the best show for you. And the more 5-star reviews that are out there, the better that show's going to be. All right. I'll catch you here next time on the After Hours Entrepreneur. And before you go, make sure that you take action. Take action. It's your life. Take the action. I'll catch you next time. Peace.